Hey, Andrew Georgitsis from SoCal Realty and Investments. Hey, today I want to talk about a really important topic, which is why not go it alone? A lot of people say to me, oh, there's these huge commissions you have to pay, or, I don't want to pay any buyer's agent commission, or I don't want to pay a seller's agent commission. Maybe I'm going to sell my house by myself. Maybe I'm just going to look around on Zillow and I can make offers myself and buy myself. You absolutely legally can. You can do all of the above. You can sell a home on your own. You can buy a home on your own. But I'm going to address why you don't want to do that. You know, back when it was like a $200,000 home and you were buying it or you were selling it and you was a little mistake, and let's say you didn't disclose that the roof was 30 years old and was going to need replacement, and then the buyer turned around and came back on you. Yeah, the laws didn't really weren't so protective of the consumer, and so maybe you had to pay $10,000. Well, in today's environment, it's nothing like that. It is California. They are so consumer protection phobia. It's just amazing. Okay. And the transactions are millions and millions of dollars. So you can imagine having protection, having somebody who's got your corner is absolutely critical. Now, remember, for somebody like myself, okay, I've been doing real estate for 15 plus years. I personally and my team have done thousands of transactions. So we know all the little pitfalls. There's 800 plus pages of disclosures and documentations and natural hazards. And so, how are you supposed to know this? You might specialize in, I don't know, plumbing, or, whatever your job is. Okay. You don't specialize in homes. You don't specialize in selling homes. You don't specialize in buying homes. You don't know how to spot a default in a property. You don't know how to, you know, spot a default in a contract. Now, I'm not saying as an agent, I have all of the skills. I have a team. Because remember, I am the agent. And so, yes, I'm responsible for selling your home, or navigating you through the buying process of your home. Absolutely. And I'm there to negotiate the best deal for you. Absolutely. But the most important thing I have is I'm also covered by a brokerage. And my broker reviews every document, and there's no personal likes or dislikes of you. There's no personal between him and you. All right. He is purely 100% a professional that goes through all the contracts, dotting every I, crossing every T. One mistake, it's on him. It's not on you. One mistake, and he's covered. He's got the insurance. He's got ending up in court. He's the one dealing with that mistake. So believe me, he doesn't make any, or she doesn't make any mistakes as a brokerage. Besides that, I have a transaction coordinator. What does that mean? That means I have a person who goes through those documents, those 800-page documents, every single day of their life and have for the last 20 years. So they know every little detail. Those 800 pages you never read and just sign? They know every word in that and every change that ever happens, and constantly being updated. Like me, okay, I take classes 2 to 3 times a week on different little aspects of the business. Today I was in a class about VA loans, learned a lot. Yesterday, the day before, about the buyer representation form. The class before that about assumable loans. There's so much information to cover. You as the seller, let's say, and you were doing it privately, you'd never know why should I avoid this type of loan, or why should I, or could I offer an assumable loan? What's an assumable loan? Exactly. I take classes and I study this every single day so that I can protect you when selling your home, or I can get you the best deal when I'm buying a home with you. So this is why I'm saying using a professional, yes, it's going to cost. Absolutely. And in most cases, it costs the seller. I mean, nowadays, for example, in a VA loan, you can put the buyer's uh, commission into the VA loan, but there's a small nuances you would know. But at the end of the day, technically, it's not going to cost you anything, because let's say you want $1 million out of your home. Well, I'm going to put your home up at 1,000,001 to cover all your closing costs, to cover all your commissions and your compensation and stuff like that. So again, it's not really your money. It's built into the whole transaction and the whole system of all the professionals involved in buying and selling a home. Title companies, loan officers, mortgage brokers, real estate agents, brokerage fees. These are all very, very important people to cover you if something goes wrong. I mean, title insurance, very important, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm going to sell my home. I don't care, man. Who cares if it's dirty title? Your buyer will care. 100%. Same when you're buying. You want to make sure clean title. Well, who's going to do that for you? And who's going to be able to read that title and understand the ins and outs of that title and what the pain points are within the title? So absolutely you want representation. Absolutely. And remember, realtors like myself, it's just not anybody. I have to go to school, I have to take classes, I have to take continuing education. I personally invest myself as well in continuing education. I take classes on negotiation. I take classes on just basics. I take classes on home inspection. I take classes on loans. I just constantly educate myself and invest in myself, in my knowledge, so that I can bring that to you as a consumer. Same for selling, same for buying, and so on and so on. And some people are like, well, so maybe I'll just do like dual agency. Maybe an agent can like double end the deal. They can, work for the seller and for the buyer. Oh, absolute worst idea. I mean, yeah, maybe 20 years ago, okay, not a bad idea. I mean, again, it wasn't so litigious. But in today's society, I mean, oh, I can't even tell you the number of lawsuits that have happened and when buying or selling a home over a fence line and not being properly represented and not having an agent that's a buying agent who goes along and says, I got your back as the buyer. We need to know the exact fence line and how that looks. If they're representing both, they're going to smooth over that to close the deal. They're going to be like, they can't tell the seller personal information or confidential information about the buyer, and they can't tell the buyer confidential information about the seller. And if they do know, it's very messy. Okay? So one of the things that is for sure is when each side is represented, they not only cover and have their buyer or seller's best interest in mind and negotiate from the strongest point of view and cover but they have a duty, a fiduciary to their buyer and seller. So they also have a fiduciary to the contract. So if they know something is wrong with the house, such as a bad foundation, and the seller says to the seller agent, hey, you know what? Don't worry about that. Just smooth it over. We won't tell them. Can't do that. The seller's agent is, again, a second form of protection to ensure they explain the ramifications to the seller, saying, no, 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 no. You do that, that's going to cost you $150,000 in court. Okay? You don't want to do that. You want to disclose it. Okay, and it's for the buyer and the inspection company and the buyer to make their decision if they feel the price or the house or whatever is still of value and they're willing to absorb that cost or whatever. And if that happens, well, great. No harm, no foul. You disclosed it, they accepted it, and boom, there's no lawsuit. But if you decide as a seller, I don't want to disclose it, and the seller's agent, okay, they have a fiduciary to the contract, to both parties to say, no, we have to disclose it. That's the law. Right? So again, having representation on both sides, okay, on both sides, protects you, not just with one set of eyeballs. Like if a seller doesn't have a selling agent, who's protecting them? They could be lying to you. They could be giving you false disclosures. All right? And that's a real problem. Right? So in that transaction, for example, you would have teams on both sides. You're going to have the agent. You're going to have the brokerage. You're going to have the transaction coordinator, you're going to have the loan officer, you're going to have the title company. So this is what I say to you. It is so important, whether you're buying or whether you're selling, seek out the best agent, research them, look at what are their reviews, and what homes have they sold, how much knowledge do they have, how many deals have they done, and so on and so on. Because remember, this is one of the biggest financial decisions you will ever have. Okay? And if you smell any slight sort of weaselness, I call it weaselness, okay? You need to run. Nope, sorry, we're out. When I say weaselness, if an agent comes and they're like, oh, don't worry about that, we don't have to disclose that, or, or we can overlook that, or whatever, I don't have to explain what weaselness means. That means that they don't have your best interest in mind. They just want to close a deal really, really quick. No, we're not here to close deals quick. We're here to make sure that we find the best buyer for your property with the best ability to buy your property and making sure they're the most qualified, right? Like, for example, you wouldn't do as a FSBO, you wouldn't know how to do a cross qualification. You see? Now, as an agent, I have my lender is an approved cross qualifier. They will cross qualify all of my buyers. So when I get an offer, the first thing we do is cross qualify them. So we know, hey, is that offer real? Are they really? I mean, is that pre-approval letter for real, or is it some guy just fired off a letter, or it could even be a fake letter? I mean, have you ever seen one of those letters? Just done. So the point is, by having representation, by having a realtor who is a professional, is bound by a code of ethics, who has worked in the industry for 15 plus years, I mean, done thousands of transactions, has, a team behind him. Now, all of a sudden, in one transaction, you might have 8, 10, 12, 15 sets of eyeballs on any one transaction. And that makes it a very, very smooth transaction, which is different from a very contentious, if not ending up in a lawsuit because you only had one set of eyeballs. And that's a real problem. Anyways, if you're interested in chatting about more about real estate or interested in buying, selling, investing, click the link below. Let's chat on email. Let's get a phone call going. Let's see where we take it from here. And always, guys, have a great day.